Doc Rivers tried to beg and plead and do whatever he could to say the Sixers want him back. But, Paul, do you believe him? Do you believe Doc Rivers when he says, we want Ben Simmons back? That is our goal. That is our intention. We want him back here.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it from the standpoint of they want him back either because, I mean, from basically what I've been told is they're not going to make a trade for Ben. They're not going to trade Ben Simmons just to trade Ben Simmons. If they're going to do that, they're going to make a move that benefits them, and a move that benefits them right now in order to become a title contender. So whether it's posturing or whether it's genuine, Doc Rivers, I think that was the right message. It's we want him back because that's what they're looking at. They're looking at it as all the trades, all the speculation, all the reports that are out there. None of those packages make us better than if we just bring Ben Simmons back. So between those two options, the better option in their eyes is to bring him back. So I do think there was some genuine sentiment there with Doc Rivers as far as that goes. With that said, I personally still stand by that. I think it behooves everyone for Ben Simmons to come back, whether that is with the intention to trade him and grant his wish or to bring him back, because I think I kind of agree with the Sixers sentiment of I don't know that I love the idea of a step trade because I don't know. If you're trying to win now, that's a risky thing. I mean, it could work out, but it might not. So whether Doc Rivers' appearance today on First Take was genuine or whether that was just posturing, I think from that perspective, I think he handled that well.
He also did ESPN Radio Morning today, and a lot of the things he said were very similar, but the audio that, from what I heard, slightly different. But one of the things was, hey, can you win a championship with Ben Simmons? He says all day, absolutely, which is a big change from where he left it. Now, he is suggesting that he was being misrepresented in that Game 7 when he was asked, by who asked the question?
David Murphy.
David Murphy, right. Can you win a championship? And he says, I don't know how to answer that right now. Now, he's suggesting, look, it was the first question, and I just was saying, yada, yada. That's not really accurate. Today, he's saying, all day, we can win with Ben Simmons. So the messaging is, hey, Ben, yes, we can win with you here. So that was the one thing that, you kind of felt like Doc was trying to spin this in that, hey, it's the media that's against you. It's not the Sixers that are against you.
Yeah, and that's the part that really confused me. So when David Murphy asked the question, he asked him, can Ben Simmons be a championship? Can he be a point guard on a championship contender like you want to be? And Doc Rivers at that point said, I don't know. That's what he said. He said, I don't know the answer to that. And let's be realistic, Mike. In a city like Philadelphia, anything other than yes was going to get a response, was going to get a reaction from the fan base, from the media. That's just the reality of it. For him today to say that we misrepresented him and that we went with narratives, no. I mean, I tweeted out what he said when he said it. Then, when they did the exit interview and Doc Rivers said, hey, I met with Ben. It went well. I'm still bullish on Ben Simmons. I reported that as well. I tweeted that as well. So it's not as if I decided or anybody in the media decided, oh, this is what the quote that. No, it's the reaction of the fan base was to the initial comment he made about Ben Simmons. Now, if he wants to say that comment was blown out of proportion, that characterization I agree with, because I do think it was blown out of proportion. I don't think what he said was that big of a deal. And the sentiment that he shared today, I think, is a fair one. Can we win with Ben Simmons? Yes, we can win with Ben Simmons. Can we win with him as the point guard? I think that's a different question. And I think that was a fair response because I don't know either, because he hasn't proven that he can do that. But can Ben Simmons be a part of a championship team? Yeah, of course he can. Ben Simmons is a really talented player that does a lot of things really, really well. Can he be the point guard? I don't know. So what I took issue with, Mike, was him saying that he got misrepresented, because I don't think he did. I think he said what he said, and that was out there. I have defended him that I do think some people have taken those comments and blown them out of proportion. But to say he got misrepresented, I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, because it's almost like, and this is the interesting part. He said, he was asked by Keyshawn Johnson this morning, hey, have you met with them? And he said, yeah, not much. We've had some conversations, he says, I get his feelings. I understand where he's at right now, but we have had some time, and we're going to keep trying to work on it to get him to the right place. So he's saying he acknowledged we haven't talked to them much. He told us why he was unhappy. Then he was followed up by saying, well, why is he unhappy? He said, well, I'll let them tell you why he's unhappy. There's been a lot of narrative that Doc Rivers is the reason that he's unhappy. So I don't know. I mean, is, in your opinion, Ben Simmons not wanting to be in Philadelphia, number one, because he does not want to play for Doc Rivers? Because the wording from Woj yesterday is that he intends to never play in Philly, and he told Jay Williams, or his Rich Paul did, that he will play for any team in the league except for Philadelphia, which is a little different from what we've been hearing as well, is that, well, he doesn't really want to go here and he doesn't really want to go there. No, he's saying, I will play anywhere but there.
I don't think you can blame it solely on Doc Rivers. It seems like a culmination of things. And, to kind of cite that Woj report from yesterday, it seems like it was, yes, did that comment from Doc Rivers have an impact? Yes, I think in Ben's, even though I think that's kind of silly personally, I do think that was part of it. I think Joel Embiid's comment was definitely part of it as well. I think the fact that he was in the James Harden rumors, despite the fact that I think at the time Ben Simmons seemed to handle that very well. As a human being, I'm sure it bothered him a little bit. I'm sure there is a feeling that of, man, does this organization really want me? Do they really believe in me? Granted, it's a fair thing for the organization to feel after what we just witnessed in the playoffs. It's a fair opinion of them to have, but I do get the sentiment of, you don't want to work for a place, you don't want to be at a place that doesn't want you. And some of the Sixers' actions have shown that perhaps they are interested in moving on. Clearly, the majority of the fan base is ready to move on. I think that's apparent. So I don't think it's just Doc. I think it is a culmination of many things that have gotten us to this point. I know Tom Moore just reported that that basically Ben requested this trade right after the season ended, right after Game 7, like a few days at that meeting that the Sixers brass had with Rich Paul. At that point, Ben Simmons had requested a trade. So if that's the case, he had his mind made up pretty early on that he wanted out. I have to think all of it was a factor. I don't think it was just one thing.
All right. He has 4 years left on the deal. Doc Rivers says we have his contract. We kind of have that going for us. I mean, essentially, the comment that he made was he's got 4 years left on the contract. It's in our hands. The Simmons side has said we understand the ramifications. He's going to sit out a whole season or potentially multiple seasons. Do you see that happening?
No. I mean, I don't. I can't imagine a scenario where a 25-year-old basketball player so badly wants out of a place that he's willing to just not play at all. Because that would be so unprecedented, really in any sport. But I mean, in the NBA, you look at recent kind of holdouts, recent like ugly situations. Jimmy Butler, James Harden, both of those guys in really different situations with their contracts and with the teams they were surrounded by in age and all that. And even those guys, they showed up to camp and they played in regular season games. They made it really uncomfortable for their teams, but they showed up. Even going back to like Anthony Davis in New Orleans, when he was coming back from the injury, he kind of picked and chose when he wanted to play, but he played. He showed up to camp and he played in games. So it's really hard for me to see a scenario again where a 25-year-old player, so in the prime of his career, decides that he's just not going to play games. It's definitely a game of chicken, and I don't know who's going to blink first. Whether that's Ben Simmons just getting to a point where he, I don't know how long he's gonna sit out, but like if he sits out multiple games into the regular season, does that benefit him? I don't know. And if you're the Sixers, say what you want about Ben Simmons, it's going to hurt not having Ben Simmons or not having assets that you're getting in return for him, and that's going to hurt you on the court immediately. So it's kind of an ugly game of chicken. And right now, like to me, Mike, nobody's winning.
No, I mean, if you're the Sixers, right though, Paul, I mean, you almost have to. He doesn't show up. You start finding him. He doesn't play. You got to hope that there's a team out there that absence makes the heart grow fonder, and they say, we remember the great Ben Simmons. our team is missing that piece right now. Forget what he did in the playoffs. We need something. I mean, isn't that your best course of action right now? You hope that his value goes up by his absence?
Yeah, I think it's like this too, Mike. I think the reason why Daryl Morey is where he is that he is like maniacally patient, and like all of us are like, yeah, just get it done, because we're all tired of talking about it. We're all tired of seeing the reports. We're all tired of the rumors. But the reality is, if you're an NBA executive, you have to be patient in a situation like this if you want to get the proper value in return. So if that's their ultimate goal, is we still want to trade Ben Simmons, but we want to wait it out because we want to get, because the thing is, Mike, so much changes. Like, look, right before we started talking, the Timberwolves fired Gershon Rosas, their president of basketball operations. That's a team that was heavily linked to, that's been heavily linked to Ben Simmons.
And now reported to be interested in Elton Brand.
And that's, so things change in an instant in the NBA. They're changing every day. So we can sit here and say, oh man, maybe Daryl Morey holds, maybe he waits till the trade deadline. We don't know. But my point is, a lot can happen between now and the trade deadline that could accelerate this process, whether that accelerates the process to where Ben Simmons reports, or whether that accelerates the process to a trade ultimately happening. I think Daryl Morey is going to just be patient. He is going to wait this out.
Which I agree with.
Bullied. He's not going to be pressured.
Which I agree with. Paul Hudrick, Liberty Ballers, at Paul Hudrick. Check out his Coming In for a Landing podcast. It is back. And by the way, another thing, we don't have time, but Doc Rivers went on today about, look, we don't need him to score. Yes, he needs to shoot better free throws. We hire a free throw shooting coach. But he went on to say, like, he fell short of calling him a treasure, but he said he's amazing. I don't know why people care about his scoring. He compared him to Ben Wallace and Dennis Rodman and the impact that they had on championship teams. So Doc did go way out again to say, look, I've defended this kid all the way through. So the Sixers have put their heels in the sand. Ben Simmons' team, they have put their heels in the sand. Who blinks? Find out Tuesday. Paul Hudrick, LibertyBallers.com. Thanks, Paul.
Anytime, Mike.